Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1692 of What's Up to Now. Play the devil's advocate frames. We're talking about different framing techniques and different ways of framing information when it comes to communication. The vast majority of us, I was having a conversation with my son about this, and most of us don't ever even consider framing our messages, or that every message we're receiving is in some way, shape, or form usually consciously framed. If we listen to the news, if we listen to a speech, if we listen to a presentation, it is framed and presented in such a way to influence our decision making, to influence our thinking, to change our beliefs, etc. And one of those frames that we can apply to things is playing the devil's advocate in our communication. That was our idiom for supersize your business today. Play the devil's advocate has been around since medieval times. And there was even a position in the Catholic Church called the devil's advocate for the Roman Catholic Church for a long time, where the person that was the devil's advocate actually did the research and the deep investigation, the further investigation into someone that was being considered for sainthood or canonization or beatification or whatever it's called, or beatification. And it was a formal office in the Roman Catholic Church that person's role was to dig up and research and do all kinds of study into the life of the person that was being considered, as well as the miracles they were supposed to have had a part in or performed during their lifetime. It comes from Latin, of course, and was until the 18th century that it was translated into English. But basically, it means to play and take the opposite side of an argument, to be contradictory, to be sometimes mischievous and contradictory, sometimes just to cause trouble. Someone will play the devil's advocate, but a lot of times it's to encourage further investigation or further study. So if in my business, with respect to businesses, sometimes I will play the role of the devil's advocate, making sure that we consider things that we wouldn't otherwise consider if we're all just in agreement that we should do a project. There's things that might be out there in the environment or in the culture or anything else that would say, no, don't do this now because of X, Y, Z. But if no one plays the devil's advocate and we all have groupthink, we might not even consider those things. We might make more mistakes in our business. So love that idiom and expression, devil's advocate. Not a fan of the devil, although this is a very strange frame or filter to use for my video. It's got those horns. You can't hide those horns, right? Look at that, makes it worse. So do you ever play the devil's advocate? Do you ever think about the communications that are coming at you and the frames with which they're being presented? I know that's one of the areas that I have not studied a lot and have not thought about, and I'm going to, now that I'm more aware of it, pay attention to, well, here's the information that's being presented and the way it's being presented. What's the intent behind that? Think of the news and the media. The news and the media, their intention is to get our attention, right? Their intention is to always get our attention, have us stop in our tracks and pay attention to what it is that they're presenting. Remember that from my newspaper days. We wrote headlines, and we spent more time writing headlines than we did articles, and there were more resources and people put in headlines, because if we couldn't get people to stop and read the article, it didn't matter what the article said. The same is true today. The intention of the news media is to stop us in our tracks and get us to focus on and pay attention to the narrative that they're feeding us. And it's to get us to stop thinking, not think, and just take it for granted that what they're saying is true. They spent decades creating a persona, a perceived persona of authority and truth, yet they tell bold-faced lies nowadays like nobody's business. And the vast majority of people have been trained through the framing to not even think for themselves, me included. I don't watch the media because I know how it's presented, and that it's all presented with a slant for what they want me to pay attention to. And then there's always a whole lot of things going on in the world that the media and certain powers that be don't want us to know about, don't want us to pay attention to. And so it's not really the news anymore, right? It's just propaganda. So I don't need a whole bunch of propaganda being shoved down my throat. It's up to us to decide whether we want to do that or not. So play devil's advocate. Framing, different frames. Our action item today is to just pay attention to and actually wake up to the way things are being presented. One of my best examples of that was thinking when I was doing different certifications and different qualifications and in school. Teachers present questions in a way that make them tricky to answer, right? People present information in different ways to persuade us and impact our decision making. And we have to be aware of if we want to be persuaded in that way or not. Sometimes we just have to step out of the room, take a different tact, not pay attention, and then go do our own research and think for ourselves. All right, if I can help in any way, hit me up. Otherwise, it's Sunday in my neck of the woods. My granddaughter's off and about, so I'm going to work on some projects that are of importance to me. If you have any questions, ask. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow without the horns. Bye.